Okay, boys and girls, this is our review for Chapter 2. So let's look at a couple of these problems here. First of all, we have write a number for each one. So it's a loss of 50 yards. So if it's a loss, it's a negative. So it's, 52 yards. So it's, let me just get a bigger marker. It's a loss, which is a negative 52, and then you need a label, so it's yards. Okay. Next one is a deposit of $192. So if you remember in class, when you deposit money into a bank account, you are putting money into your bank account. So for that one, that's going to be $192. So $192 is what you're going to do. And we're assuming it's positive if there's no negative sign. A withdrawal of $200 million. So if you withdraw money, that means you take money out of your account. So it's a negative $sign, and then we want 200 million. So 200 million looks like that. So we're going to have 8 zeros for 200 million. Next one, draw a horizontal line. Let me just move this up. Number line from -5 to 5. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw a number line. Make sure you put your arrows at the end. And we start with -5. And you're going to go all the way up. -2, -1. Sorry, I just put -0 by accident. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you need a dot each one. So remember, to the left of 0 is negatives, to the right of 0 is going to be positives. All right, boys and girls, we're going to draw a vertical number line representing the opposites of 100 to 110. So first of all, I'm going to start a vertical number line. Let me just get my pen here. Okay, so we draw a vertical number line. I'm just going to go down here because I know it's going to be hard to fit. Okay, next it says opposites, so that's our keyword. So when I see opposites, I look at 100 to 110, and I know the opposites are -100, -101, and so forth until we get to -110. And it's actually supposed to say from the -100, well, the opposites of 100 to 110. So when I look at this, when I'm dealing with negatives, you need to remember that at the top of a vertical number line is the highest number. So the highest number for a negative is the one that's closest to 0. So we're going to start up here with -100. Then -101, -102, -103, -104, -105, -106, -107, -108, -109, and finally -110. Then you would need to dot every single number that you have in the data set here. Okay, so just remember that when we do a vertical number line, it's like climbing a mountain, so highest number goes up top. And when you're dealing with negatives, the highest or the greatest value is going to be the number that is closest to 0. Next, we're going to complete each inequality. So if you look at 10 through 15 here, the inequalities are all based on absolute absolute value. So we're looking at absolute value here. So we have -18 and -24, the absolute value of each. So remember, absolute value means how far you're away from 0. So -18, we're 18 away. For -24, we're 24 away. So it's 18 or 24, so 24 is going to be bigger. So number 11, it's 30 away and 40 away, so 40 is bigger. 12, it's 100 away and 200 away, so 200 is going to be greater. Okay, so we have 280 and 190, so 280 is obviously going to be greater. We have 650. And then you have 480, and again, that's how far they're away from 0, so it's going to be 650 is bigger. Now we have 570, and then 400 and 570 is going to be bigger. Okay, now 20 through 25 is just regular integers, so we have -7 and -5. So which one's bigger? So -7 or -5? -5 is going to be bigger because when you're dealing with two negatives, it's the one that's closer to 0 is the bigger one. So -5 is bigger. So -2, -1, -1 is going to be bigger because it's closer to 0. When we deal with -4 and we're going to 0 is going to be bigger. Then we have 3 and -6. So we look at these, and whenever you have a negative and a positive, the positive is going to be bigger. So we have -3, -1. -1 is bigger because that's closer to 0. Then we have -6 and 1. 1's a positive, so 1's going to be bigger. Okay, for 53, it says an elevation of -1600 meters is greater than an elevation of -2100. Okay, so when we do this one, it's pretty much straightforward. So -1600, and you have to put a label, meters, is greater than -2100 meters. Okay. Okay, for the next one, a loss of 20 yards is less than a loss of 30 yards. This is the tricky one. It's not -20. So when you look at this, it's basically talking about football. So if you have a line of scrimmage, which we're going to count as 0, if you lose 20 yards, there's 20 yards. And then if you go back to the line of scrimmage and you lose 30 yards, what you're doing is it says 20 yards, which is right here, is less than the 30, which is correct. So it's going to be 20 is less than 30. You're not going to do negatives here, so it's a little bit tricky. Okay, so the example, let me just erase some of this here. The example at the bottom here, I just want to point out that they do have a mistake, and we talked about this one actually in class. And the mistake, let me just move it up. So this one we talked about the example. We talked about this in class, and there is a mistake here. And the mistake we talked about is right here. So it's the difference between C and B. So C is -25, and the difference is minus a -110. So remember, we changed the sign. So it'd be -15. However, if you couldn't do that, that's fine. All you have to do is draw a number line, and to do that would be like this. So we have a number line. We always put 0 on it, and then you have -10 to -25, and you need to figure out how far did you go from -25 to -10, and you can see it's 15 degrees. Okay, this one we talked about in class. We talked about Minnesota is not a city, so that's okay. Which city had the highest temperature? So what you could do if you really needed to, you could draw a number line. Let me just erase what I have here. And on my number line, I like to put 0. Minnesota is -3, so I'm going to put M for Minnesota. Chicago is -8. New York is 3. I'll put NY for New York. And finally, 12 degrees is Houston. So which has had the highest? I'll just put H, Houston. Which city was 3 degrees below? That's Minnesota, which is not a city. Which city had a temperature greater than New York's? Again, it would be Houston. So the difference between Chicago and Houston. So several ways to do this. One way is the difference between Chicago and Houston. So we could do 12 minus a -8. And you change the sign, so that would be make an addition. That would be 20. Or what you could do is Chicago to 0 is 8. 0 to Houston is 12, and 12 plus 8 would be 20. Okay, so now we're going to look at a bank statement, and let's just talk about a couple of things within the bank statement. Whenever you have a deposit, that means you're adding money. A withdrawal, you're subtracting, and the balance really is equal. So January, Brandon put in $200 deposit. He withdrew 0, so now he has a balance of 200. Because the previous month in December, he had 0. So in February, what did he do? He added 0, and then he took out 80. So you go to the previous balance. So he had 200 minus 80 is 120. Next month, March, he deposited 0. He took out 150. Now they have a mistake here. So when you take out 150 from 120, so what you do is this. Now you could do many ways, and I'm just going to show you a number line. if I'm at 0 here and he's at 120 over here, we have to get to 150, so withdrawal is minus. So when you go down to 0, you took off 120, and to get to 150 you have to take away 30 more. So you're at negative 30. So this should be negative 30. Then in April he added $10, so you're at negative 30, remember, and you're adding 10, so we're going up 10. You're not taking away any, so you're going up 10. And when you go up 10, this should be negative $20. Okay, I should have a dollar sign there. So which months did he overdraw his account? That means he has negatives. That would be March and April. In which months did his bank account positive? So it has to be January and February. And finally, if Brandon deposited $50 in May, what's his new balance? Okay, so let me just redraw this number line. And again, you could do it several ways. I'm just going to show you with the number line. Okay, so here's a number line. Let's go have 0. And in April, that was our previous balance. He had a negative 20. So it says he deposited 50. So deposit means to add. So we go up 20, because when you add, you go up, because you're getting higher. And then we have to get to 50, so we have to go up 30 more. And when you get 30 more, you have $30. So he's going to have $30 in his balance.